Hello YouTube and welcome to Greenlight Cinema. You know, it's great to have you back, you betcha. Let's get started into this Fargo episode 9 review, because there's a lot of great interesting stuff coming up on this episode, and I just want to get into it. And I love shows and movies like this. I mean, I love things that are so engaging that just kind of, you get lost in it, and you are eventually you are in the show or movie, and these characters and everything, they feel so relatable, and you feel like you're part of these characters, and what happens to these characters is what happens to you, it feels like, in the movie or in the shows or something. And I don't know, I think this is a very interesting, these characters are very likable and very relatable. Most of them are, anyway. I'm not a fan of Simone. I think Noah Haley did a great job on this season, and just grabbing the audience and everyone's attention. I mean, this show is so engaging, you just cannot stop with it. You know, you find the characters, you know, them making those choices, it's like you would make those choices or something. Let me get into this Fargo review. The book's like, it's kind of explaining like what all is going on. But what I wanted to like notice about this book, or I really wanted to focus in on, is in one of my last videos, I'm not sure which one it was, I believe that I thought that they went to Kansas City. It was the scene with Bear and I like to call him Brooklyn or Buffalo, and they shot up a Kansas City business. Now I believe that was in Kansas City, but this episode shows that I'm wrong. It said that these incidences occurred in South Dakota and North Dakota, and so those were just offices that Kansas City had, actually, that were in North Dakota and South Dakota, and but they are like a Missouri-based type, I guess, thing. I'm not sure. And then season 4 is in Pontiac, Illinois. I don't know. We'll get into all that. Pretty much the book explains why all this crazy murders and statewide incidences have happened and occurred. We see the book pan out into like an actual footage of a store, and it's the gas clerk, and he spotted Hansi. Hansi's coming out of the woods because, you know, Peggy just stabbed him, seen in the last episode, and he sees that guy's just trying to call the cops, and just as he does it, Hansi kills him. Now our injured Hansi Dent, he's looking for medical supplies and patches himself up. I like this scene right here. It's the narrator explains Hansi's origin, of what little we do know about him, and we see how deep that wound is on it. It looks rough, but he heals himself up, patches himself up, runs off with the gas clerk's car, takes off. Cut to now, we're with Ed and Peggy and a whole squad of police here at this cabin, and they're trying to figure out what in the heck has just happened here and going on. Dodd's dead over there in the corner. Lou's kind of like hunched down trying to figure all this out. He's frustrated and irritated because he's been warning and telling people, which the South Dakota captain doesn't really care for Lou's demeanor or Lou's, you know, way of just kind of expressing how he feels about this. But I love all this. I love what Hank says here, that Peggy makes them look like the gang that can't shoot straight. I don't know how many times I've actually said that before. I love that line that Hank says. But pretty much here we see that Peggy says she's fully realized now. She's not even actualized. She's just realized now.
Makes us look like the gang that can't shoot straight, doesn't she? Or a beautician.
Worth mentioning, you know, in the spirit of full disclosure, my plan, it worked. I made a deal for Dodd.
With what, the Gerhardt?
Now Ed's told them about his brilliant plan. The Gerhardts, you know, he said didn't want Dodd, so he decided to call Mike Milligan and made a deal with him. And he thought they were in good hands, and they're going to meet at Sioux Falls at the Motor Hotel. And that really surprises Lou. And Lou, he says, we need to take these two into custody right now. We need to take care of these two. And that does not fly over well with the South Dakota captain. So Lou gets a talking to here, and they explain to Lou, or at least the female cop does anyway, that they don't know if they can vouch for the safety of Ed and Peggy because of it was it was Gerhardt money, now it's Kansas City money, so it's corruption, of course, and hierarchy in the department. But Lou, he kind of gets a little upset, and he's explaining, even a little bit more. This South Dakota captain really doesn't like Lou, kind of is out for him like right away.
Brought your shit to town, son. I'm just trying to clean it up. And I say we squeeze the lemons we got and use the juice to catch these big fish. So get with the program.
You don't need your conscience. You're half the reason we're in this mess.
Look, you're not ready for this.
Trooper, not another word.
You're not up to the task. This is a war. Don't you get it? I'm responsible for you. You're breathing because of me. I can't just leave you behind.
Son, you're turfed. Now pack your shit and get out of here. Or my boys are gonna show you what a South Dakota necktie feels like.
I'm going. You've been lucky. That luck's gonna run out. This is on you.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on right there. I mean, we really feel for Lou's character. We're rooting for him. And this is why, because Lou knows this is truly a war. And the other officers know that as well. But here's the thing. They're not really concerned about Ed and Peggy's safety like Lou is. So Lou is turf. So he's got to pack it up and go. And, I like Hank in this because he's exactly what we need. Because, Lou's like, are you coming? And he's like, no. He's like, it's good to have at least one grown up here. And I'm glad that I'm glad that Hank did stay behind because, getting into the spoilers, but, he gets shot. But I feel like if he hadn't have been there, things could have escalated and, they would have had more people killed than what we've seen.
This thing's officially out of control.
So now that they've ran Lou off, the South Dakota captain's having a little talk with Ed and Peggy, and he's got this dumb plan. Of course, it's not going to pan out or work good at all, and it's just like, you just want to scream at the TV. Again, this is what good television and great movies and great writing is supposed to do, But while South Dakota captain is explaining this to Ed and Peggy, you can tell Hank's hesitant. He don't like this plan at all. It don't sound right with him, and so they tell him that what their plan is they're going to put a wire on Ed, and hopefully they can round up all this together. Kansas City, they'll get a commendations. You know what I mean? The captain. So hey. Big deal for everybody.
Recording device, son. Are you stupid?
Hey.
Big day for everybody except Ed and Peggy. And Ed and Peggy, they have no choice, but they, go along with him on this. And they say, sure, I think Ed says he wants it in writing or whatever. They'll be okay and all this will work out like he says it's going to. Meanwhile,
at the crossroads separating Minnesota from South Dakota.
I'll just let him explain it. He's better at it.
Yes, sir, I do.
The British fellow, that is.
Mike Milligan, the low-level enforcer for the Kansas City Mafia, was playing a dangerous game. Just hours earlier, he had been targeted for execution, but he had turned the tables on his killers.
Well, they never showed up.
And now, in a desperate gambit,
I'm on my way, me and my man, to collect the eldest Gerhardt mail.
he sought to rout the Gerhardt family once and for all.
That's right, Dot Gerhardt. That's what I was thinking. Grab him up, see if we can't end things this minute tonight. Trey or ambush.
I really like how Mike was able to take care of that situation and also escape his death. That was pretty neat. I got handed to him. And I think it's funny that he's on the way to go kill Dodd, even though Dodd's already dead. Okay. But anyway, I like that little part right there with, did you see the tags where they say Missouri as in Kansas City, Missouri? Oh, what's that? That's the I think I've made my point face. Anyway, moving on. Now we have a scene with Betsy, and it's kind of sad. She's like kind of getting her stuff together in the morning, or cooking or whatever. Lou's about to call her. And we're seeing like 3 different scenes going on here, which is pretty interesting. I kind of like that. First I didn't, but after rewatching it, I can't imagine this being made any other way with any other actors or any other writers. Anyway, moving on. Great cinematography work. Great everything work.
That's a beauty. Go show your mom, huh?
So now we just had the scene with Betsy. Spoiler: she's gonna be okay. She's asleep, and she has the most fascinating dream, which we'll get into eventually. But leading him up to this, Lou isn't able to get a hold of her, but he notices something. Good thing for Lou's instincts, or we'll just say common sense and logic in this matter. Too bad it gets him in trouble, though. Lou notices those bandages and peroxide and a gun hole, and the vehicle's missing, and just puts 2 and 2 together. And after seeing all that, I mean, Lou does the right thing. He calls for help, and he don't get nowhere. He's explained to the officer the severity of the situation here, and that officer, along with no one, except Hank on this, listens to Lou. It's still like the same thing with Molly in season 1. You get so irritated, you're like, listen to Lou, he knows what he's talking about. And that guy's just like, I don't know about that, Captain, he's kind of scary, so, and just kind of, he's like, so I gotta escort you out of town?
Escort you out of state? Son, with this fella that killed the clerk, he is wanted in conjunction with a double-digit number of homicides. Yeah, I don't know about that. But Captain Cheney's real scary, so I'm gonna have to ask you to get in your prowler, and I'm gonna follow you to the state line.
So after getting nowhere, Lou still continues to almost get nowhere pretty much, because he decides to call Hank up on the radio, and he's trying to explain to him, everything that's going on. They're just kind of like, kind of dismissing it or whatever. Except Hank. Gosh, I always mix up their names.
And hole up for the night under a low profile. And then prep Ed for the sting.
Listen, you need to... I got a bad feeling here. I'm being run out of town. But you need to watch yourselves. This thing ain't over.
I'm like, I'm kind of going to listen to Lou on this. I think he might have a point. But the North Dakota chief, he's like, listen here, Junior. He's like, if they want to see...
We're not fresh off the boat here. These fellas want to tussle. They're going to find out a thing or two about what a Dakota man can do.
Yeah,
Take a seat on the bench is what I'm saying, Junior. We'll handle it from here.
So these confident police officers have made it to the Motor Hotel in Sioux Falls, and just as planned.
Ditch the prowlers round back. Hey, Captain, talk to you for a second. Your man was on.
And while these officers are talking, someone's got them targeted. Who, you might ask? Well, it's Hansi Dent. Yeah, they made it to the Motor Hotel, and they're being targeted. As you're going to see, it's Hansi. And I like the scene right here. I think it's really interesting. I love Hank. He's such an interesting character. And right here is a great scene and a great example of what I'm talking about. We see Hank. He kind of has he talks to the captain, but South Dakota captain, but he's not real mean with him or anything. He just kind of tells him, maybe we should think things through.
Things through. Army.
Yes, sir.
liberated France in the Great War. Not single-handedly, but I like to think they couldn't have done it without me.
Well, then you know it's the generals that do the thinking. And everybody else just says how high.
But South Dakota captain doesn't like the idea of thinking things through, as that's obvious. And he tells Hank, hey, stay or go. And, of course, Hank stays.
Stay or go. Makes no difference to me. But tomorrow, I'm taking the fight to the enemy.
And here we are back at episode 7 again. And I'm just going to take this as a theory now. Or just, you know, I guess Simone and Dodd got murdered, like, all in the same, like, day. Maybe all of this stuff has happened in a week's time. I mean, as you look back on all these episodes all together, it kind of feels like that anyway. But, so, Floyd gets the message, of course, that we've seen before, that Hansi's on the phone. He knows where Dodd is. And, of course, this is misinformation.
Well, what is it, kid? Spit it out.
Your Indian is on the phone. Hansi says he found Dad.
Is he alive?
Yes, ma'am. They got him, but he's breathing.
Who's got him?
Historians of the region have long debated the next two words spoken by the Gerhard's native man. When exactly did he decide to betray the rest of his employers? Yes, he had executed Dodd Gerhard in cold blood, but at what point did he decide to finish the job? Was it here? Or maybe earlier?
All you gotta do is be straight with us.
I'm straight.
It's certainly possible that the move was spontaneous. Who knows? Maybe it had been building inside of him since Otto Gerhard took him off the street when he was 8 years old. Whatever the answer, when Floyd Gerhard asked who it was that was holding her son, Hansi Dent said,
Kansas City, that Milligan fella. An ambush Laverne, Butcher grabbed Dodd, fled the state.
Why?
Tracked him to a motel in Sioux Falls. They got numbers, but they're not expecting anything.
I'll be back in 3 hours.
No, ma'am. Send Baron a dozen men. We can bring him home.
Are you telling me what to do?
No. Just can't vouch for your safety is all.
3 times I sent men to do a job. 3 times they come back unfinished. I'll handle this myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, they waste over the devil's hours.
So it's a pretty wild scene right there. Hansi's kind of telling her what to do, and then the bullet holes I like to point out there. Like you know those little charts when you're a kid, or you know you have your kids and you like get their height or whatever. I do it with my kids all the time, or sometimes. You know, she's clinging onto that, and that thing's got bullet holes all in it. It's just kind of like sad. You know, you really seen their family deteriorate in this season. It's pretty rough. So I'm sorry to cut it right here, but that's the end of part 1 for now. So I got part 2 coming up very, very soon, so please stay tuned. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And sorry guys that we're still doing this quarantine thing, but I'm going to keep making these videos. I'm going to keep doing this stuff. But thank y'all and stay tuned. Bye. Maidenster, Virginia!